Alright, welcome back to our series where we're building a CSS grid website. In the last video we covered creating the header, the masthead up here. And in this video we're going to focus on the hero section. So this is called the hero section, and this is going to be an image. And then we're going to have some text that goes over the top of the image. So let's jump back into CodePen. And you can see that we have our navigation here, our masthead. And then now we're going to go back into the HTML to where our hero image is. And this section is going to be called hero, which is very clever. And then we also need, so that's going to cover, this part here is going to cover our background image, which is going to take up a really good portion of the page. And then we're going to have some text on top of it, and let's just go ahead and do an H2. So here's our H1, and so the next logical heading tag would be an H2, and so we'll just put something there. It is whatever you want to put for your own uses would be fine. If you want to use some lorem ipsum text, or if you want to put real text, if you want to put real text in there, that's okay. And I think that's all that we'll do for now. We're just going to have a simple one piece of text over the background. So let's go into our CSS here, and we have a section called hero image. Let's just make that hero, and we can do all, not just the image, but all the different features on the hero section. And first we're going to style hero. And what we need to do is we need to find something for background. Now in SAS you would do background, and then you go down a level and you do URL. Image. If you are using CSS, then you would use the background-image property like this, which I could use that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and do it the SAS way. And then you do URL and then parentheses, and then inside these parentheses we need our image. Now I like to use, especially if I'm just making a spec project, or if I'm not really, I don't know, I just need a placeholder, I like to use something called unsplash.it. Now some of you may have heard of unsplash.com, which is a place where you can go and download actual files. Unsplash.it is just they serve up beautiful placeholder images, and they're taken out of the Unsplash library. So it's a little bit different in that you're not physically putting the files into the website. They're just being brought in from an outside source, hot linked, that's what we call it. So let's just pick a nice image here that's going to look good with our text. Our text is going to be on the left, and that means, how about this one? So this is my city, Chicago, and so we'll go with that, 1067. And so the code to put that in is https://unsplash.it/ and then whatever size that you want. So we want a 2000 pixel wide size. And if you just put one measurement in there, it'll be 2000 by 2000. You could also do, you could say 2000 by 1500, so it will be 2000 wide, 1500 tall. And then if you want to put a specific image in, then you put a query. So there's a question mark, and it says image equals, and then whatever image number. So any of these numbers, you can put a specific image in. You can also use random. We're going to do 1067. Oh, there goes colon here. Okay, and now it should show up. It should feed that image. Okay, so you see the images come in here, and then the text, but everything is just kind of auto right now. So we have text in there, so it's as big as the text is. So we need to make this box, this hero section, bigger. Okay, and the way that we do that is we come in. Actually, there's a couple things we need to define with the background. We need to say the position is center, and that's going to center the image. We can make the top show, we can make the center, we can make it left and right, we can make the top left, bottom right. If you need to get familiar with the background CSS property, then I encourage you to go to do a Google search and either do the Mozilla Developer Network or go to the w3schools.org, and both of those sites will give you really good information about how to use background images and how to use the background property. And there's lots of different little properties that you can use for backgrounds. Position is center. We're going to say this one is really important, so the size needs to be cover, and that means that regardless of how big the screen size is, it's going to try to cover the entire div, the entire section. And then so it'll resize the image. So it's important when you're going to use that to have really good images, pretty big sizes. And the last one that we need to do is, I just like to put this in. It never really comes up a lot, but I like to make sure that it's covered. So repeat is no repeat. Okay, so if we run out of room somehow, which we shouldn't with the size cover, but if something should happen and the image cuts off and starts repeating, I don't want that to happen. So I usually put that in there, and then we need to create a height, and we're creating a height for this section. Okay, so this section right here. I'm sorry, this one. We're creating a height for the section, and as we create the height, we are going to allow the user to see more and more of that image. It's also going to allow us to use Flexbox to put this text where we want to put it. So let's just go with 40 and what's called a VH. VH is viewport height. Viewport height. And now viewport height is whatever this is from here to here is 100, essentially 100%. 40 takes up 40% or 40 units out of 100. Okay, but and you can see that it's always the same size here, and as it grows, our cover image gets larger. Okay, we get to see less and less of it because it's actually getting bigger. Okay, so that's what the size cover does for us. Actually, let's go with 50. We'll get a little bit more of the image in there at big sizes. Okay, so you see we have this nice space over here. This is one of the reasons I chose this particular image, is so that we can put our text right here and it'll show up really well while still keeping the focus on the parts over here of the image. Choosing images is very difficult. There are editors that get paid a lot of money to choose images, and choosing the right image for the right application is something that that takes time, it takes effort, but if you do it, it creates a different type of emotional connection, but it also creates really good places to create dynamic layouts. So we have our height at 50 viewport height, viewport height units, I guess is how you would say that. And then let's go down to this H2. So we could tag it with a class name. So let's just do that. Let's say I'm going to put it inside of a div. So let's say hero inner, and then we'll come here When I'm writing Flexbox or when I'm writing grid styles, I like to encase everything, the inner parts, inside of an inner, um, what do they call it? An inner, not a property, but you know what I mean. I like to have it inside of this inner tag here, the class name. So we have an outer wrapper essentially, and then we have an inner wrapper. And then if we, especially if you want to center something, and I'll show you in a minute, if you want to center things inside this hero, you're going to need only one div inside of here. Because if you have multiple things in here, you need to definitely put them inside of this. So if we had another line here, if we had two lines and we didn't have this part right here, if we make this display flex, then it's going to make these two items come up side by side to one another. So you need to group them as one, kind of like when you're in an editing program and you group everything together so you can move it all together. It's a very similar type of thing. So that's what we're doing there. So I like to do that just in case I want to come back and add more to it. It's already set up, and it doesn't lose anything if I have it, and there's only one item. So let's say hero, inner, we want to make that color white, and well, maybe. I don't know. Well, let's get it where we want it to go first, and then we'll see. So the hero, we also want to make display flex, and then we want to justify. Actually, let's do align items. I know I want to do this one. Center. That's going to pull it down to the middle. So you can see wherever we go, it's always going to be in the middle, right? We're going to give this one, let's say, a maximum width of 50 viewport widths. So you can see as the viewport gets smaller, our text actually is breaking because the maximum width for this section right here is only going to be 50% or 50 viewport units. So that way we still preserve our image here. And maybe you can see as we get smaller, maybe we can do something where we pull that up to the top, or we do something a little bit different. But we preserve this right side because this right side is really important for the image. We could even pull our text up a little bit if we wanted to. I'm pretty happy with where it is. We need to put some padding on the left. Actually, let's put that. That's another good thing that we can do with the hero intersection. We can use margin or padding, either one. I will say padding to the left of 2 rem, so it gets it off of the edge there. So when we come out, you can see we have a nice little part here. When it gets smaller, we still have some nice padding. Let's go to the H2, and we'll say font size of 2 rem. That's 2.5, yeah. So now we got like a real true hero image, and when we do responsive styles, you know, this is going to have to change because that's not going to work. But out here, where it's nice and big, I think that's going to look really nice. So you can decide what color you want here. Maybe I don't know. Maybe like a dark gray is a little softer, but it doesn't show up. Yeah, you just have to play with the colors that you want. Right now, black is the thing that shows up really well on this particular image. If you wanted to use white, you would need a dark image behind it. I could also show you how to do how to darken this image, and maybe I'll just go ahead and do that now. So this is one way to write the hero. Another way, let's just copy and paste that. If you wanted to put a layer, a background layer, which is like a layer, an opaque colored layer. So we'll say, what will we say? We'll say color overlay. Okay. What we would do is we would say, instead of background image like this, we would come up and we would just use the background property. And the way that we use the background property is we say background, and then you have the URL and all that. And before that, we want to put in a linear gradient and then a comma. Okay, so it's going to apply all these different styles to the background itself. So this is like a big catch-all, kind of a shortcut for all the different background properties. You can put it under background. And then in the linear gradient, what it's going to do is it's going to create a gradient. So there's going to be one color here, and as it goes down, it's going to change to another color here. That's if you just do a simple two-color gradient. And I found that if you just do the same color, then you can create a nice little overlay over the top of the background. So this is what I use in order to create color overlays. So we'll just say something like, and it needs to be an RGBA, that way you can, if you want to see the image underneath, you need to have some transparency. So you need this, the A part stands for alpha, which is the channel that controls all the transparencies. So we say, let's just do black, which is 0, 0, 0, and then we'll say 0.3, I don't know. We'll start with that and we'll find out. And so then we just copy that because we want to use the same exact value. And so the structure is here. Oh, you saw it go dark. The structure is RGBA, and then inside the parentheses you do your color and whatever the alpha channel is that you want to do. You could also do like this. You could do 0, 0, 0. Because I'm using CSS, I can use the one color and it'll turn it into this right here. But this is the more proper way, so it's RGBA. Right? Does that make sense? So you can use any sort of RGBA color here. There are lots of good ways to find that color. Maybe in a different video I could show you some tips and tricks on how to find those colors or to find these different alpha channel transparencies. We can change this. If you change it to, like if you change this one to 9, you'll see that we create a real gradient here, right? And so it's real thin up here, and then the color is very thick down here and covers up a lot. So you have a very light transparency here, and you have a very dark, almost the full color here. But you can make this into a 5 and a 5, and then we could turn our color to white, and then all of a sudden now the text really pops off of that, right? So you can see, so you've created a color gradient. You could put any color in here that you want, and you can make it kind of a colorized text. This will be a cool, like, modern type of gradient where you go kind of from red to blue, or I don't know, you can do anything, red to pink. So that's just one of those kind of cool little tricks that'll turn your average website into something just a little bit more, right? And it'll make, the key is to make this text pop. You want it to come off of and be separated from the background. So whatever that takes, and then if you don't care about the image and people being able to see it, then you can really put a nice kind of solid 0.7, 0.8, and that way people aren't going to be able to see the image very well, but they are going to be able to see the text very well. Okay, so that is the color overlay. I think I can put this off. No? Okay, so I need to have that information too. So you can use either one. You can use this up here, or you can use this down here. Either one would be okay. And then you'll just have to match your text here so that it pops out of the background. Alright, that was a little bit more than I thought, but I think our site is getting there. That was the hero image that I originally wanted. You can make this go to something like 30. Like when we get out here, then it's really way over. Or if you don't want it to have any sort of max width, it'll just go all the way across the page. And then you would do, in our flex box, if you wanted to center it, you would say justify content center. And then wherever it goes, it's centered. Let me see that. But you can see when you do that, it starts to cut off the Hancock building here and gets in the way of seeing this picture. So that's not why, or that's why I didn't do it. And then we can keep it out nice and wide. So let's put those restraints back onto it I originally had. We'll do 50. Okay, I think that's good for now. So that is how to build a responsive header that has a background image and it has text over the top. Now, one last thing, I would encourage you to go ahead and use this technique about putting the text, real text that's in the HTML, over a background image, because whenever, for SEO purposes, whenever Google or whatever bot comes to see and catalog your website, they will actually be able to see this text, and it will be in an H2 tag, which lets them know this is really important. So if you have some sort of important keyword information here, this is the way to go, because if you put this text into the image itself in an image editor and then you put it on here, the Google bot can't read the image like a person can. So they'll just see an image. It'll say, okay, this is an image, and whatever you put inside the alt tag is going to be it. But if you put the text over the top of the image, you get the alt tags, plus you get a nice little SEO boost here with whatever you're putting over the top of it. So layering your backgrounds with real text inside the HTML is always going to be better for you as far as SEO is concerned. So this is a really good technique that will help you in more ways than one. And if for some reason the image were to break and not show up, at least the people have, something here to be able to see. All right, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, move on to the next video where we're going to be talking about this features section right here, and we're going to be creating a grid inside of a grid. So it should be interesting, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.